And my next guest is here to put things in perspective. Now, he has a brand new gas price calculator online. It's at www.toomuchatthepump.com. Now, here's how it works. Now, if you drive, for example, a Ford Taurus, if you were driving that when Obama took office, you were paying just $35 to fill up your tank. But now, well, it's costing you well over $70. Pretty shocking. Joining me now, the man running for his old Senate seat in the Commonwealth of Virginia, former Virginia governor and senator, George Allen. How are you? Good to see you, Senator.
Good to be with you.
I'm saying senator again because it's going to happen. You know, we're looking at that's double the price. Do you notice this is the one issue that the president doesn't blame George Bush for?
Well, President Bush was one who was in favor of allowing us, for example, in Virginia, to explore for oil and natural gas off our coast. If I'm hired on by the people of Virginia to represent them and their voices in Washington, on day one, I'm introducing a bill to allow Virginia to produce oil and gas off our coast and use the royalties for roads and transportation. They're out of touch. The whole purpose of this TooMuchAtThePump.com is to realize that people are paying $25, $30, $35 more every time they fill up. And you think, what would people do with that extra $30? They might go to a restaurant, may save it for their children's college education, buy gifts, save it, pay down debt.
We could be paying $2 a gallon. We have enough gas. Jim Inhofe said minimum, 70 years minimum, without even touching oil shale. And on top of that, we've got natural gas that you know, we could have for 100+ years.
And coal.
And coal.
The point is, we're number one in the world when it comes to energy resources. If we unleash our resources, we'd have more affordable fuel, more affordable food, more affordable electricity. We wouldn't be so vulnerable to outside hostile forces. We could have a rebirth of in our industry in our country, making our country much more competitive for investment and jobs. The federal government would get over $1 trillion in revenues without raising taxes, and we'd be keeping our money here in the United States of America.
Well said, and it's good for national security. Here's the president from earlier today, though. Now, he's claiming we're drilling. If anyone tells you drill, baby, drill, you know, we've been doing that. Well, we have a new study that proves otherwise, but this was him from earlier today.
We have been drilling. We're drilling right now. Under my administration, America is producing more oil today than at any time in the last 8 years. At any time. That's a fact. We've added enough oil and gas pipeline to circle the entire earth and then some. The problem is not that we're not drilling or that we're not producing more oil. We are producing more oil than any time in the last 8 years. That's not the problem. There are probably a few spots where we're not drilling, it's true. You know, I'm not drilling in the South Lawn. We're not drilling next to the Washington Monument.
I don't find any of this funny. Now, there was a study, Congressional Research Service, which, by the way, is nonpartisan. They came out. He's bragging about we've increased drilling. No, 96% of the total increase of domestic production has occurred on non-federal land. The number of leases and permits have been cut in half and more. So he's being dishonest there.
Well, the fact I mentioned Virginia, he has said no to the people of Virginia who would like to explore off our coast. He said no to the oil from Canada. He's also the Keystone Pipeline. And the other thing is with their cap and trade energy tax that they're trying to impose through EPA, that's going to shut down coal, which is a major supplier of jobs and obviously affordable electricity in our country. So the reality is it not only is against it in Alaska and Virginia, the permits in the Gulf are a fraction of where they were before. And then if we're not going to get it from America, Canada is a good, reliable neighbor and ally. And so the reality is everything they're doing is driving up the cost. And then they say, well, supply doesn't matter. The Saudis just this week said they were going to increase the price of oil dropped.
Just by the prospects of them drilling, we announced that it would.
Yes, it would.
Liberals get mad because I call the President Crybaby. I mean, he blames George W. Bush for everything except the price of gas that he inherited at $1.80 a gallon. He blames talk radio, Rush Limbaugh, Karl Rove, Sean Hannity, Fox News, Ed Gillespie, the Supreme Court, the Arab Spring, tsunamis, kiosks, ATMs, earthquakes, Europe, Wall Street, rich, millionaires, billionaires, and I can go on. He blames everybody. Now, we found somebody else new to blame today. The reason for Solyndra, per se, was not his fault, even though it was his bundlers that got access to his White House like 4 times the week before they got your money that they poured down the drain. Now he's blaming China and Congress for his decision. Watch this.
We are doing the all-the-above strategy right. Obviously, we wish Solyndra hadn't gone bankrupt. Part of the reason they did was because the Chinese were subsidizing their solar industry and flooding the market in ways that Solyndra couldn't compete. But understand, this was not our program per se. Congress, Democrats and Republicans, put together a loan guarantee program because they understood historically that when you get new industries, it's easy to raise money for startups. But if you want to take them to scale, oftentimes there's a lot of risk involved, and what the loan guarantee program was designed to do was to help startup companies get to scale.
He's not drilling, claims he is, and then he's responsible for the decision. The Bush administration rejected it. It's not our program per se because of the Chinese in Congress. Is that how desperate they are?
Yeah, and they hope no one's paying attention to the accurate facts of it. And Solyndra is probably the word that best explains this administration's counterproductive, punishing energy policies. But the news is it doesn't have to be this way. And our campaign's about envisioning a better future for our country, and part of that is unleashing our American energy resources. And we just need to change the players and the deciders in Washington, D.C. to make sure that we have decision makers who have the political will to say, look, we have these energy resources under our land and under our water. We have the resources and the creativity of the American people. Let's make sure that America, we can have an industrial renaissance in this country, improve people's quality of life, not have this. And the people who are hurt the worst by this are lower and middle income working people. And this is a very regressive, harmful policy for families, particularly those who live in the suburbs and rural areas that drive longer distances.
Listen, if we would inflate our tires, get tune-ups, and use algae, we're all better.
Algae is our other great idea. Senator, I say that, of course, sarcastically.
Of course. Good to see you. Thank you for being with us. And still ahead tonight, left-wing hate spreads on Facebook.